What's going on, everybody? We are live on the Jump Ship YouTube channel, doing something a little bit different today than I usually do. We are still going back through old media, like always, and we will go over some videos here near the end. But we're going to have a very specific topic in mind, and we're going to talk about some old journal article that I think is very relevant, and then how it kind of applies moving forward. So one of the craziest things that I kind of face year after year for about 15 years now of training athletes is when competition season comes rolling around, and people fear that there's a swim involved or a pool or the ocean or a lake, whatever. When they get to a higher level of CrossFit competition, there's almost always some version of swimming in there. And so these athletes who don't spend any time around the year practicing swimming try to cram in swim sessions at the last minute with their buddy at the local pool who thinks they know how to swim, and they don't really develop efficiency, good habits. They don't understand the purpose of swimming in CrossFit and actually how you should be thinking about swimming when it comes to CrossFit training and competing. Because swimming in CrossFit is different than swimming to swim. It's different than swimming in high school or college or anything like that, because almost never is the swim by itself. Almost always is the swim coupled or in a chipper or in some long workout where you're doing multiple things and the swim is part of it. So your job when swimming, typically within CrossFit, is to use the least amount of energy possible to complete the swim in a reasonable amount of time, without it also affecting the other movements that you're going to be dealing with. And there's this article written by Terry Laughlin. You can find it back in the early CrossFit Journal section. It's why swimming is different and how to make the difference work for you. Now, for those of you who don't know who Terry Laughlin is, he is the creator of a methodology of swimming, basically, called total immersion swimming. And it's a style of the freestyle stroke. He is actually passed away now, so RIP Terry, but he really changed the way that endurance athletes, or really any athlete, faced a swim in any kind of race. And I'll show you a video of what total immersion swimming looks like here in a little bit. But first, we're just going to look at a couple points from the article. I'm going to go back and forth, so it might be a little messy, but ways to frame or think about how swimming is actually different. It's funny how this title of the article is framed, because swimming in CrossFit is different. Not only is swimming different than running, biking, rowing, which is what this article is essentially about, but in CrossFit, swimming is also different because it's almost never by itself. So let's look at a couple little key things here. Basically talking about the bottom here, anyone from the occasional jogger to dedicated marathoners know the fundamental truth: increase your mileage or intensity in your running improves. That's applicable to the row, that's applicable to the bike, that's applicable to running, right? Increase the volume or mileage, increase your intensity or vary your intensities on the road or on the treadmill, and inevitably you'll get it right at some point, and your skill at running and your efficiency, both how you run, should improve, hopefully, but especially your ability to run and your body's ability to deal with that. It improves. But that is not the same thing when it comes to swimming. So that is really the big difference here. That does not apply. Just because you spend more time in the pool and you work harder in the pool doesn't mean, or the lake or ocean, any water, doesn't mean you're going to improve that. Because as you actually work harder in the water, if you're not working efficiently, then you're not really getting anywhere. You're just kind of wasting your energy in the water, and you're not improving. You're not going to be able to have that carryover or translate to something that you can use in a CrossFit event. Because again, the swim will be mitigating how much energy it takes to complete a certain distance. It doesn't mean you're allowed to go slow. It means you have to be steady and efficient. So swimming in that regard is way, way different than like I said, other monostructural activities we see. So you're more than welcome to read through this whole article. It's not that long. It's 2 pages. I don't want to read the whole thing, but I'll give you a couple other things. Some tips on swimming. Swim slowly. Racing the clock or other swimmers will only cause you to thrash and splash. Swimming slowly is the best way to begin developing habits of efficiency and economy. And while swimming slowly, practice the following points. Count your strokes. The best measure of efficiency is to see how many strokes it takes you to get from one side of the pool to the other. Okay, so obviously the least amount of strokes it takes, that means the more efficient you're being at the water, the more ground you're covering per stroke. And then, of course, breathing is a big part of it. There's a bunch more points here. Look down is a good tip. Don't keep your head up. If your head's up, you're in a very broken position when you're swimming. So you're always in that neutral position in the water. You're finding that balance point where you're essentially straight and floating. Swim silently. If you're splashing and kicking, you're wasting energy. It's inefficient. Swim less, drill more. So more practice, basically, instead of just putting in hours in the pool. So again, this is why it's different than just going out and accumulating miles on a bike or running or anything like this. Let's see. We'll keep going here. I'm going to switch screens. So if you've never seen Terry swim, brace yourself. You may not believe what you're going to see here. And I'm going to explain why this is so important and so amazing. I don't know how this partnership between Terry and CrossFit came to be in 2005, before the first CrossFit Games, and 6 years before the CrossFit Games ever introduced swimming. But the fact that this swimming coach was the person that was writing for the CrossFit Journal article is going to blow your mind. Okay, I'm going to show you a video of Terry swimming, and I'm going to play the whole thing because you're not going to believe what you see. If you're not familiar with total immersion swimming, become familiar. All right, brace yourself. Here we go. Very specifics to a freestyle stroke. Some things you'll notice right away. Let me turn the music down a little bit here. That's one of his students and the president of his company, Shinji Takayushi, also an excellent swimmer. Look at their legs. Look at the legs. What aren't the legs doing violently? They are not kicking and thrashing in the water. In fact, they're barely moving at all. The legs are used to steer. Little tiny kicks to be able to turn their whole body in the water to glide effortlessly. If you don't think this style is amazing, how little effort they have to use to swim, and you're missing out on how you can actually improve as a CrossFitter when you're swimming. Legs are the big movers in your body. If your main propulsion in the water is using your legs to kick for your swim, you will use up more oxygen, you'll be less efficient, and you'll suffer in whatever the next movement is in that particular workout. So again, just watch. I mean, these guys are literally gliding through the pool. And if you think that's not fast enough to be competitive in the CrossFit space, you're out of your mind. These guys set world records on freestyle swimming. Effortless gliding. It's like someone's attached strings to their back of their legs and upper back, and they're just pulling them through the water because it doesn't even make sense how easily they're moving. It's cool. It's very cool. To me, this is the style of swimming that every CrossFitter should be chasing. Learning how to be super efficient and comfortable with their position in the water. Minimize leg use, essentially the big movers, save those for other things, and learn how to use the upper body, again, efficiently. Okay. You get the point. They are very good swimmers. And it's super cool to watch how easy it is for them. Okay. So now we fast forward to 2011. And the first time the CrossFit Games has introduced swimming. Let's see. And it was at the beach. CrossFit legend Chris Spieler passing through the bottom left side of your screen. These guys, again, this is early in the sport. I'll grant that. So there's been swim coaches that have come in since, but these guys are literally just trying to survive in the ocean. And again, ocean swimming, very different than a pool. I have plenty of experience. I've done a half Ironman in the ocean. I did a long swim run in the ocean. It's different, but the stroke should be about the same. These guys are all swimming head up. This was a very short swim, so not the best representation, but you can see the lack of ability from the CrossFit Games athletes to swim efficiently compared to how efficient they are in other movements. So let's keep going. I'm going to keep cruising right along. So that was the first time swimming was introduced. And again, they had this beach workout. They did a swim. I think it was only about 200 meters or so. And they ended up doing, what was it, like 50 chest to bar, 100 hand release push-ups, I believe, and then like 200 squats, and then like a beach run. But that was the first time it was introduced. Continuing on here. 2013, I think, was the next time we saw swimming. And it was in a pool paired with bar muscle ups. Let's watch for a bit.
Troyan in lane 16, Chan in lane 9, and Leverage in lane 2. Kenny Leverage, he's a waterman. He spends a lot of time in the water surfing and things like that. He's a California kid. He's going to be in the water. The bar muscle ups are not going to be a problem.
So obviously, this one ends up just coincidentally not being a lower body intensive workout, right? So it's all upper body. It's the pull in the water with the arms. So being efficient with the arms is important. And then the lower body, not so much. You can actually kick because it's a short distance. But the two things I'll give you from this video here that people don't talk about and athletes don't practice enough of when they're training is the dive into the water, okay? The dive into the pool. We've been spending a lot of time at pools in present years at CrossFit Games and other events. Diving into the pool and covering as much ground as possible before you pop out and start your stroke. And then a flip turn. Stopping and then starting again by turning in the water facing the same direction is not a great idea. Flipping and being able to drive off the wall, again, staying under as long as possible before coming up and starting that stroke and breaking the top of the water. Super efficient. So not only just being efficient with your stroke, your breathing, all that matters when you're pairing movements together. But I would say in this event in particular, the skill of just being able to dive off the side of the pool efficiently, again, covering ground, and then having the flip turn would have been a huge, huge advantage. And it's so funny to watch CrossFitters try to dive into pools. They basically belly flop because no one's ever taught them how to dive. And it's like, if you're going to learn how to swim, you have to have all the tools together. There's a lot of easy way to lose this event, even if you're the best at bar muscle ups and a reasonable swimmer. You can't dive, you can't flip turn. You're going to give away so much time at every corner. All right. I love this event. This is a great event. I wish they'd bring this back. A little crazy with the slipperiness, but I think they actually taped the bars up back then. So it was you actually had decent grip. If it was just raw steel, it might be a little trickier, but I'm pretty sure they put black tape around the bars.
So Chan and Troyan on the bar at the same time. So Chan could probably get through these a little faster. Troyan's losing a little ground on the bar.
Chan actually, I think, won the swim 2 years prior, in 2011, the swim portion of the beach run. I don't remember if he won the whole event, but he had a pretty good lead coming out of the ocean. He's always been a good swimmer. And Troyan was like a 4-year collegiate swimmer or something. He always won swim workouts every year. Pretty much he was competing at the games. All right, let's keep this rolling. Today's going to be a short stream. Like I said, we're doing things a little different. I just wanted to show you guys a bit about swimming and a bit about where to get some resources to start swimming and start practicing, because the season's here. We're in the open. Quarters is coming, semis is coming, and then the games is here. And a lot of you guys went through Wadapalooza, where there was a swim. There's every year. Could be one at that West Coast Wadapalooza thing coming up. There could be some swims at other events. Legends, a Masters event, had a swim. It just seems like we expect swimming at a reasonable high level of competition, yet athletes just fear it. They don't train it, and they don't know how to get the information for it. So start with that. Again, start with that first CrossFit Journal article. I'll share it one more time for people that might just be tuning in. This article, 2005, go back in the journal, find this, read this, Terry Laughlin, and then look up Terry's stuff. Total immersion swimming. I actually, quick story on me, I did a half Ironman, completely, basically unprepared. I took it on with no real experience in true distance running, any distance biking. And my experience of swimming was doggy paddling around in the lake when I was a kid. I had to learn how to freestyle swim, and I practiced in lakes leading up to my half Ironman, which was in an ocean, which at the time didn't know what I was doing, completely different animal. But I went and took like a 2-day course on total immersion swimming with a coach. and just some simple pointers on how to find your balance point in the water, how to bring your arm out of the water and then re-enter it, the direction in which you're pulling back in the water, how to turn your upper body and hips as you're rotating, how to try to turn and breathe. There were so many little tips that were actually simple fixes that they could give you right on the spot and give you corrections and film you and show you what you're doing. I came out of that a day or two later, like completely different swimmer. And I actually did pretty well for not having any real swim experience in the swim portion of my first half Ironman. Can't say the same thing for my bike, but I did well in the swim. And then a year or two later, was able to complete this really long, grueling swim run race. Again, in the ocean, that was you swam from shore to an island while the current's pulling you a different direction. You got to fight the current. You get out on an island, you run a route around the island, and you get back in the water, swim to the next island. It's called swim run. It's called Odolo in foreign countries or whatever, but it's a swim run race. They have them in the US. Completely brutal. End up swimming like 6-7 miles in that day. And oh yeah, you're tethered to a partner the whole time, like a 6-foot cord. You're tethered to a partner while you do the swimming and running. It's pretty crazy. But my point is, I would have drowned both times without getting some basic tips on this. And this makes me more efficient in all kinds of things. So 2005, CrossFit Journal. Let's see. It's in the March of 2005 section on why swimming is different by Terry Laughlin. Again, he is the creator of Total Immersion Swimming. Very, very useful stuff. And again, funny how his part of swimming relates so well to CrossFitters, especially in competition. Huge dive in and dolphin kicks under the water, and boom, you're halfway across. That's exactly right. In the pool, learning how to dive, learning how to flip turn, you basically don't have much swimming left after that. Okay, we're going to go into at least 2 more quick videos, and then we're going to wrap it up for today. We'll do, let's see, what do we got? 2014 beach workout from the CrossFit Games.
Holding 2 25-pound kettlebells and then 30 burpees, then a 500-meter swim, and that's really what this event comes down to.
Yeah, this workout, it looks like it is all about the swim. That 500-yard swim is the big make it or break it, deal breaker there for some of these.
Again, ocean swimming.
The other thing, Sean, the work capacity. Some of these women.
So you do need to practice sighting when you're ocean swimming, because you don't have the big line at the bottom of the pool you can follow by looking down. So that's a different skill too. Learning how to sight, popping your head up every X amount of strokes to make sure you're heading in the right direction. You don't want to swim in the wrong direction, obviously.
I expect her to put a push there at the top as well.
But you see so many of these swimmers, so many people just trying to survive. You see the position they're in. So when you swim well, you're horizontal in the water from that demo video I showed, right? Your body's horizontal with the water. When you're not sure how to swim, your hips start to sink and your upper body comes up to keep yourself buoyant, and then you're paddling like this and you're dragging in the water. And most of these athletes are just dragging. They're not making any real distance. And even though it's a tight pack and they're trying to sight, with some practice, they could actually swim quite efficiently through this and pull away. And once you pull away from the pack, you're smooth sailing.
Now, both of these movements are known to gas you, the thrusters, but these burpees, I just want to point out, it's a violent, detested movement already.
Begin to emerge from the water and make their way up to that area where Rory McKernan was standing. 50 thrusters with 25.
And you can see the athletes actually that do make it to the front of the pack do a pretty good job of staying horizontal and swimming, because they probably have some reasonable experience in this, whether high school or college swimming. But the rest now are in such a massive deficit because they're not efficient with their stroke that now it doesn't really matter how good their movements are on the beach between the thrusters, the run, everything else they had to do on the beach. It's going to be, you're giving away too much to overcome in a workout. And when this is one of 12 events or whatever at the CrossFit Games, that's 8% of your final score that you're not really, you're just giving up essentially.
You can get a good look at the number, but Anna Tunnicliffe is your leader, making her way up the beach.
Yeah, exactly. Head straight up and out of the water. That means your hips are going to drag dead below you, right underneath. Instead of being like this, you're going to be like this, and you're just stuck in the water, not able to move.
Took third place and it was a fight for her to get here.
Yeah, he does. Looks a lot different at Mayhem now, doesn't he? All right, guys, we got one more video just for entertainment purposes, and then we're going to wrap up for today. And it is a much more recent one, much more recent. So this is from the 2020 games. This is the pandemic games when there was only 5 people going at it. Let's take a look. I haven't even watched this ahead of time. I just kind of want to see what it looks like. I have not watched this at all ahead of time. So let's see here.
Will be completed in reverse order. Now here's the key. They will not know their cumulative time throughout the event, and their coaches aren't there to help them out with that. So Olsen and Quant are in the pool. Here comes Matt Fraser. Olsen closest.
See how much kicking is going on here. They just came off a bike sprint. So you would think you would be not kicking even if you thought that was the right way to do it. But you can see how much splash, slamming their arms against the water. Big kick from the legs.
If you slip your foot on a GHD, you're not going to make up in 10 reps.
Reasonable time in the pool, though. I mean, these guys could swim to a reasonable degree. But again, if they prioritize certain things of efficiency, you know, there's a lot more coming in this workout. As you can see at the top, there's GHD sit-ups, there's slam balls, and there's multiple rounds of this.
The first 2 out of the pool, and here comes Matt Fraser as well. Justin Medeiros, and now Jeff Adler.
So blowing up your midline with GHGs would make it harder to hold that position as well. It's actually a pretty cool workout.
Fastest cumulative time through the 4 intervals will win the event. Fraser's done, Quant and Olsen are done, and now it's on to the slam ball.
I always thought this was kind of funny that they introduced the slam ball into the games.
Throw that ball down harder. Look at Fraser in the middle lane as he's pulling up quick and driving down, but it slips out of your hand, and that's the danger of coming to the slam ball wet. That Fraser had a little bit of a slip. No room for error.
It's funny they use it because the purpose of it is to slam it down hard, right, for a violent closing of the midline. All right, let's skip ahead to another round, see if it looks worse. Let's keep watching.
For the first interval of 4.
So only 8 seconds separating Olsen from
Maybe not. All right, last little bit. Oh, no, never mind. We're going to go to ads. I don't have premium. I'm too poor. All right, so one more time. Why I love this. Terry Laughlin, total immersion swimming. If you need to let me pull back up. There it is. If you need to know how to swim, you want to know how to get resources on swimming, this is the style I would recommend. Look up Total Immersion Swimming. They have courses all over the country. Go take a day course, get some feedback, learn how to be efficient with your freestyle, whether it's the pool, the ocean, the lake. That's what you should do. So there's your answer. You want to know how to swim in CrossFit? The journal laid it out long before the games, and there's endless resources online. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for watching the show, and we'll be back next week. I think I have a special guest next week, really throwing it back to the 09 games, maybe even earlier with Freddie Camacho. Hopefully he's available. So, all right, guys, we'll see you later.